Om
Yeah.
Jnanatimrandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gulshan, would you like to read the English for that? Please.
Bob, can you read it?
I was born in the darkest ignorance.
And
my spiritual master showed me the torch of knowledge. I must be close.
Almost there, yeah. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
Okay, very good. So we're beginning a new chapter today, the 6th chapter. So just a recap on last week. So last week, the verse is regarded as the peace formula of Bhagavad Gita. Bhakti Mala.
Haribol.
Nice to see you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
So yeah, just a recap on last week, the peace formula verse. So who remembers the peace formula? I'll give you a clue. There's 3 parts to the peace formula. Who wants to be, first of all, who wants to be peaceful? Put up your hands if you want to be peaceful, or if you want the world to be peaceful. Put up 2 hands if you want the world to be peaceful.
Yeah.
So what's the formula for peace? Is it in the United Nations? Unfortunately not. It should be there. That should be their motto of the United Nations, the peace formula given here. They might find real peace if they followed this one. Unfortunately, they don't. And unfortunately, they just keep increasing the number of flags, which means more and more fighting and arguments and chopping up nations and so forth every year. That's going on. So much fighting and everything. So then not very effective. If they took up Krishna's guidance here, they might find this get a lot better results. So anyway, there's 3 parts to the peace formula. Who remembers? Oh, and while you're thinking, I'd just like to introduce you all to a dear friend, old friend of mine from Wellington. Please come, please. This is Ambarish Maharaj Dasa.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Haribol.
Yeah. And this is Bhakti Bob, Bhakti Sarah, Bhakti Mala, Bhakti Gulshan in Australia.
Haribol.
Yes.
Haribol.
And his wife's also come. Ananga Manjari, Devidasi have come. So yeah, we used to live in Wellington for a short time, and we got to meet them there. Became very good friends. And he's also got my disease. He loves talking about Krishna. He's doing great service there. Many people are becoming Krishna conscious there with him and his wife's help, and many becoming good devotees there, very serious devotees. So
whatever we have received from Prabhu, we are passing on. That's it. Yeah. Nothing much.
But this is the power of Parampara, that the follower can do even much more than the person before. Like Prabhupada said himself, that I have done 100 times more than my spiritual master. And likewise, I am expecting or wanting all of you to do, meaning his disciples, to do 100 times more than me. Have you heard that one before? So that may seem quite bewildering. How can the disciple do even more than the guru, the spiritual master? But we don't see it that the spiritual master is better or more advanced devotee than the guru. That would be actually offensive to think like that. That would be an aparad, which means offensive. How it works is that the mercy flowing down from Krishna coming through the reciprocal session, coming down through the guru to the disciples, so much mercy is there. So the mercy is just adding up, and the more it goes through, and it just gets more and more potency, more and more power there. So then the next in line, it's possible, can even do more than the previous one. But it's by their blessings, by their mercy. the guru and all the previous gurus and Lord Krishna are blessing the devotee, the disciple, to understand Krishna consciousness and spread Krishna consciousness. So it is possible like that. And I mean, I've seen it that, I, whatever little way I could, helped out Ambarish Maharaj. I mean, a lot of other people, he has initiating spiritual master. I'm not like that, but as well, that's done so much to empower him. But whatever little we did, and we see he's doing far more than our humble self. So, but we're very happy, and that's the thing. The guru or the teacher is very happy to see his student or disciple do even more better than himself. Even like Ambarish's wife, I taught her how to make some sweets, and now she makes the sweets better than me. And I'm not thinking, damn, she's like better than me or anything. No, I'm thinking, wow, that's so wonderful. I'm very happy.
Guru is so happy that when the student beat that, Guru is so happy if you're teaching the archery or something, and if they beat the Guru is so happy. Because they can see, they qualified, like, they taught him well.
Yeah. And this is part of Krishna consciousness, that in Krishna consciousness, there's no envy, which in Sanskrit is called nirmatsaranam. Now, as we know in the material world, anyone that goes to work or deals with society and neighbors and so forth, there's a lot of envy there. There's a lot of envy, a lot of hatred and anger and so forth. And we generally, in materialistic consciousness, we don't like to see people do better than us, do we?
General.
And
so to answer your question, Abhay, was it to do with ego and pride? The question you asked?
because the ego is there, that I'm the enjoyer. Because I'm the enjoyer, I'm the proprietor, and I'm the best friend of everyone, which is opposite to this peace formula, that Krishna's the enjoyer, Krishna's the proprietor, he's the controller, and he's the friend of everyone, best friend. But we're trying to take, the false ego is we're trying to take Krishna's position. So we want to be the enjoyer, so we don't want anyone else to enjoy more than us. Because we think we're the enjoyer and everyone else has got to help me to enjoy. Everyone else is my slave to give enjoyment to me. So we don't like to see anyone get more than us. And if they do, we get envious of them and we want to drag them down. So, of course, then you have jealousy, which is a slight variation on envy. So, but all these kind of emotions come up because we have the false ego and we have the pride that comes with the false ego. Of course, if you have false ego, then pride will be there. You think you're the greatest, so but that's pride, right? You think you're very big, you're very great. So that's part of the false ego too. But in Krishna consciousness, what's the first thing we learn? What's the first lesson?
You're not a body.
We're not the body, yes. And then following on from that, so what are we? We know what we're not. We're not the body, so what are we?
Oh.
We're the soul, and what is the soul?
A spiritual being.
A spiritual being, and what is the position of the spiritual being?
Part of the supreme soul.
Yeah, we're part of the supreme soul. So what's the relationship between the supreme soul and the tiny soul?
Atma and Paramatma.
Yeah, Atma and Paramatma. So what's the position of Atma in relation with Paramatma?
Are we the servant and Paramatma?
We're the servant. That's the first thing we learn. We're the servant. We're the servant. And that's one of the first Sanskrit words we learned. It's a very simple word, but very important word.
Dasa.
D for dodo, A for apple, S for
surrender, and A for apple. So dasa means servant. And the women are called dasi, which is the same meaning, servant, in a female body. So we're servants. So and Krishna consciousness is completely opposite to material consciousness, which is based on false ego and pride, and we become envious and jealous if anyone's doing as good as we are or better than we are. And but spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, we become very happy to see people excel in Krishna consciousness, and it gives us. What do you think? What do you think could be as possible reasons why we might be happy to see other devotees do better than us and become very advanced, even more advanced than ourselves? or if you see someone very advanced in Krishna consciousness, what could be the cause of us becoming happy to see such persons that are very advanced?
So we can learn more from him, or
Yeah, the person we can learn more from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, Josh has joined us. Welcome, Josh.
Hello. G'day.
Hare
Josh.
Krishna.
Hey,
Howdy.
welcome. How have you been?
Sorry, what was that, sir?
How have you been, Josh?
Oh, I've been good, mate. It's been
Good.
a
Awesome.
nice day last week.
Oh, great. Fantastic. So we're just recapping, Josh, on last week's one, the peace formula, and explaining some things about that. And then we'll start on the 6th chapter. So you were just talking about what could be the cause of a spiritual-minded person, a Krishna conscious person, seeing another spiritual practitioner becoming more advanced than us. Because I was just saying, Josh, that often in materialistic consciousness, if someone's doing better than us or the same of us, we can become a bit envious or jealous and so forth. But in spiritual life, it shouldn't be like that. And the actual fact is, if someone is advanced in spiritual life, they're very happy to see other people become even more advanced than ourselves. And my question is, what would be going on in such a person's mind? Why would they be feeling so happy to see someone doing better than us?
You're thinking along the lines that the program works, or the scientific side?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, that whatever he's doing, it must be working, because he's doing really well, you know. I remember the first devotee I ever met. He was the happiest, most peaceful person. Talking about peace formula, he was so peaceful, so happy, and so knowledgeable. And I thought, God, whatever process he's following, it must be pretty good, because he's got some pretty good results going on there. So that was very encouraging for me, that maybe I can become happy, because I wasn't, you know. And I wasn't peaceful, and I didn't have any real knowledge. I was so ignorant. I didn't know what the purpose of my life was, what I was doing, where I was going, why it was so much madness around me. It was just so much, you know, confusion going on in my mind. And he seemed very clear and very focused and very at peace and very happy. And I wanted all those things. And so that should be like that. You know, if you see someone that's more advanced than us, if you think, wow, the process works, there's hope for me. If it works for him or her, maybe it'll work on me. And it should be like that. Should give us a lot of happiness.
Because in
So
the
thanks for
material,
saying that, Bob. That was what I was thinking too.
in the material plane, you know, there is a limited number of particles and pieces of money and matter. So for someone else to get a lot, has to come at the cost of someone else not getting it.
Yeah, so that's material consciousness. We're thinking, it's a great point, Josh, in terms of scarcity of resources, that there's limited resources. You know, say there's 6 billion, or now getting close to 7 billion, I suppose, now, people on the earth. Even if coronavirus has taken out a few, there's still heaps of people, and you know, so many billions, and they're thinking there's only a fixed number of resources. So, you know, you work that out. Is going to be, the more people means it's going to be less for us. So we've got to wipe out some of the competition, and that's some of the conspiracy theories going on, right? That some people want to create all these ways, like vaccines or whatever, to help wipe out people. So then there'll be more for us, who's left, you know, and different things like that. So don't want to get into that, whether they're right or wrong or whatever, but definitely that is going on in the mind of materialistic people, that there are limited things for me to enjoy, and the more people means less for me. So that's not good. You know, if you're thinking in that mindset, to have more people and so forth in competition is not going to be good and like that. But so what, we don't think like that in spiritual consciousness, and why don't we think like that is because we understand that there is a supreme maintainer. There is a supreme being, Paramatma, Bhagavan, God, whatever you want to call that being, that's part of that supreme being's responsibility is to maintain whatever number of children he has. Whatever number of parts and parcels children he has, his responsibility to maintain them. And because he has unlimited potencies, unlimited shaktis or potencies, then it's like easy for him without even clicking his fingers, just by thinking about it. Okay, let's give them another 100,000 tons of rice and another 1,000 tons of butter or whatever like that. Then because there's more children now, then that's there. So we have that understanding that as the number of children increase, the number of supplies can increase. Now, we might argue with that and say, I don't see that. I see there's a lot of damn starving people. So if there is a supreme being out there, he's not doing a very good job. No, but what I would say to such a person is that I would quote actual things that happen on a daily basis. And that is that, for example, in economics there's supply and demand. So if the supply is too much, if the supply goes up, the demand goes down. And that's called the law of supply and demand, obviously. And then the result of that, what happens if the supply goes up and the demand goes down in economics? What's going to be the result? How's that?
Price drops.
Price drops. Is it very good from an economical point of view for the price to drop?
Probably not.
Not
No,
really.
you want maximum price. Every businessman wants maximum profit, maximum price. You don't want a lower price. You want a higher price for your product. So what do? If a higher supply causes demand to go down, price to go down, what is the economy?
Limit the supply.
Oh, really? You're going to limit the supply. Like, for example, put, the cows give so much, milk and they make so much butter, and there's like too much butter for the people, and and the price goes down. So what do? They load the butter on a ship. And this actually happens. They load it on a ship. And do you know what they do when they go into the middle of the ocean with that ship of butter? They push it off.
Dump it into the ocean.
They dump it because somehow or other they have to reduce the supply. Another way they'll do it, you know what they do? They'll shoot those cows. So no, they don't. So you don't get that extra milk. You kill the cows, or you push the butter off. But somehow or other you got to reduce that supply. And then what do? You point the finger at the Supreme Being that he doesn't supply enough. But no way, mate. It's you guys that stuffed it up, not the supplier. The supplier supplied, and you stuffed up the supply. So this is the facts. This is what they do. We interfere too much as human beings. We interfere way too much. And that's why I was, myself personally, I wanted to get out of that and try to simplify my own life and not interfere so much, because we really do. We interfere with nature too much. And then when it doesn't work out, what do? We point the finger somewhere else. It's not me that's stuffed up. It's the guy up there or the guy next to me stuffed up or whatever, But often, if you point a finger at someone else, you got how many pointing towards you? So often it's like that, So this is part of spiritual consciousness. We have to be aware of these things. We have to be aware of these things. So we don't see that a problem as overpopulation. See, materialistic people, they're very concerned about overpopulation, but in spiritual consciousness, we don't worry about overpopulation. What do we worry about? It is something to do with the population, but not how many of the
quality
population.
of the population.
Yeah, Bob, you're just on fire today. You don't have a Bhagavad Gita with you, but you've got it in your heart, mate. You're on fire. It's the quality of the population. If they're like thieves and rascals and liars and everything, then that's a burden. That's a burden. If they're good kids, that's like for parents to maintain, so many good kids, there's no problem. But even one child, if a child is a real, crazy rebel or whatever, then that becomes a burden, So there's actually a verse in the Vedas that says Mother Earth. That's in Sanskrit is Bhumi Mata. So it's understood there's different deities or controllers of every planet in the universe, according to the Vedas. So for the Earth, the person controlling the Earth is in a female form, and her name is Bhumi, Mother Earth. And the West also, we've picked up that coming from the Vedas, and we say, that Mother Earth. So where did we get that from? That comes from the Vedas thousands of years ago, that Bhumi Mata, Mother Earth. So it says in that particular verse that Mother Earth feels an unbearable burden to have one person standing on her body, because the Earth is her body, right? And she's like the soul of the planet, and the planet is her body, just like there's a soul within this body, right? So also the whole Earth is like a gigantic body, and there's a soul within the Earth, and that's Bhumi. So she feels that, it says this verse saying she feels the weight of someone who tells a lie as an unbearable burden. And just be aware, and it talks about that Mother Earth is easily bearing the weight of gigantic, heavy mountains like the Himalayas and so forth here in New Zealand, Ruapehu, in Australia. What's the big mountain in Australia? Is there any big mountains in Australia? I'm sure there are.
Kosciuszko.
Yep.
Kosciuszko. Okay,
Mount
well,
Warning.
there's Mount Warning. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I've seen that actually. So yeah, Mount Warning. So it says she has no problem to carry the weight of these great mountains, but some small person, small physical weight, but they're telling a lie. For her, that's a great burden. That's a great burden for her. So what burden she must be feeling in today's world, because there's a lot of lying going on, a lot of lying. I wanted to get a powerful torch, so I ordered it online, and I was scammed. They scammed me. Instead of sending me the torch that I ordered, a very powerful rechargeable torch, they send me the cheapest possible stupid torch that requires 3 AAA batteries that you can't see further than the end of your arm with. They send me the cheapest possible ones possible, and and lost 60 American dollars or whatever. So they're just cheats, and I try to email them and everything, and they're just crooks. So that's a great burden. That's a great burden. Just like we don't like that behavior, do we? Like, I'm peeved off by it. So Mother Earth, we're her children, because our bodies were born from her. You understand that? All of our bodies are made of what? Are made from the earth. The earth and the water and all these elements coming from the earth. So she's our mother, and Krishna is the father. And he says that, aham bija pradapita, that he's a seed-giving father. And what is it? The line before that, Mahadyonir, that the earth is that nature, material nature, is the source of the body, and that he is the source of the soul, the father. So he impregnates the soul into the womb, you could say the womb of Mother Nature, into the womb of Mother Nature, and presto, the living entities come out. Just like the man impregnates with his semen, impregnates the wife in the womb of the wife, and then the child comes out. So you need that combination of the father and the mother, obviously. So the same, for living things to appear in the material world, you need the combination of Mother Nature, matter, and the mother, and the father, which is the supreme being, who injects the soul into matter, and then presto, life comes out. So just like the mother would become very upset if the child has very bad behavior like that, and otherwise she has no problem to maintain whatever number of children. But if they're bad behavior like lying and so forth, then it's a great distress and discomfort like that. So completely different consciousness, material consciousness, thinking in terms of scarcity and envy and so forth, and spiritual consciousness, thinking in terms of abundance. Actually, that's spiritual consciousness. You understand there's a great abundance, there's unlimited abundance, because that ultimate power, that supreme power, that supreme source, Bhagavan, and remember we've talked about what is the meaning of the definition of Bhagavan or God, means Bhaga means opulences and Van means full. So it means what is Bhagavan? Bhagavan means has unlimited strength. Can some of you remember? I've said one. Ambrish, like to say one?
Renunciation.
Unlimited renunciation, which we're actually going to be talking about that very soon. And the beginning of the sixth chapter talks about renunciation, sannyas, detachment. So the Supreme Being has that ability to renounce, to detach to an unlimited degree. So that's another opulence. Other ones?
Beauty.
Beauty, yes.
Wealth.
Wealth.
Knowledge.
Wealth. Knowledge, yes. Like that fame. So like that, 6 opulence. So it's unlimited opulences. So it's no sweat off his brow even, just to provide for 1 billion, 1 trillion, 10 trillion, 100 trillion, whatever. But if they have nice qualities, very happy to maintain. But if they're like cats and dogs, then even 2 of them is a hassle. Like what happens when you put 2 dogs together? Do you get peace and harmony?
Depends if they're brothers.
If they're brothers, yeah, okay. These ones are not brothers. Or they've forgotten that they're brothers. Yeah, then they fight, Just like we went today, we were talking with a neighbor and he had dogs in his car. And as soon as his car passed us, even though they had seen that we've talked with his master for 15 minutes, but as soon as they passed us, they couldn't help themselves because dog mentality, right? Rah, rah, rah. Just like scare you out of your pants, they're so angry mood like that. They just have to bark. So that's the thing, so we want to work on that, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to improve our qualities. Like one of the verses I've been reading about lately, trying to imbibe, is the 26 qualities of a divine person, of a spiritual person. 26 qualities. I'll just say a few of them. The first one mentioned is Kripalu. Kripalu means compassionate. This is a quality. This is the original quality of this. These are the original qualities of the soul: to be compassionate, merciful. Kripalu. Akritadroha. Akritadroha means that you don't see anyone as your enemy. Imagine what the world would be like if we saw like that. If we were actually living as spiritual beings. You don't see anyone as your enemy. Even people might be treating you badly, but in a spiritual consciousness person, you don't have any bad feelings back towards them. You don't feel any anger or enmity back towards them. Like Yudhisthira Maharaj, the eldest of the Pandavas, one of his names was Ajata Shatru. We could speak for hours just about the meaning of his name. That Sanskrit is loaded up with so much meaning, but we won't do that. But Jata means born. Ajata means not born. You put the A in front of it, right? Jata means born. Like Bhaya. Bhaya means fear. You put an A in front of it. Abhaya means no fear. So Jata means born. Ajata means not born. And Shatru means enemy. So put it together. The person that he saw as an enemy was never born, means that he didn't see anyone as an enemy. That person didn't exist. That person that he saw as an enemy didn't exist. Does that mean that Yudhisthira didn't have many enemies? I've lost count of how many enemies Yudhisthira had. The biggest one was Duryodhana. You know, tried to kill him so many times. And his blind father, Dhritarashtra. If you read the Mahabharata, you can read all about these guys. And Karna. You know, they all tried to kill him so many times. You know, but that's the way they saw him. They had a feeling that Yudhisthira is my enemy. But looking from Yudhisthira's eyes out towards everyone, did he see anyone as an enemy? No. That's a devotee. That's a spiritual person. You don't hate anyone. It doesn't mean no one hates you. I mean, there might be heaps of people that hate you, but you don't hate anyone. Even they may treat you badly. That's a divine quality. Like that, so it goes on. So I won't go on like that. But these are the things we want to try to imbibe, and this is what's going to make the peace formula work if we actually apply these things in our life. Otherwise, I can say, it's easy to say, you know, the peace formula, you know, Krishna's the supreme enjoyer, he's the proprietor of everything, he's the friend of everyone. But do I actually live like that? You know, do I practice these things? You know, so it's easy to talk, you know, but, you know, practicing is a little bit more difficult. Of course, I mean, at least we're lucky that we know about it. I mean, I didn't even know about these 3 parts of a peace formula. I didn't know there was a peace formula and that there's 3 parts to it before. So at least it's good in the beginning. It's not bad that you know that there is a peace formula, and then you can start to work on it. But the real effect will come, and we'll actually achieve peace, is when we practice this in our life, these things. And like I was saying, you know, and acting like a spiritual person and being kind to others, and not seeing others as an enemy, even if they treat us badly, tolerating that and so forth like that. So, and then we'll actually start to realize this in our life. And that's called Vigyan. So we have the Gyan now, we have the knowledge that what the peace formula is, but then we want to take it to the stage of Vigyan, which means realized knowledge or applied knowledge. We're actually applying the theory in our life. We're applying the philosophy in our life, and then we get realization from that application. And that becomes part of our life. Would anyone like to say anything about those things? I don't want to go on too much, but I mean, for me, this is very fundamental, very important stuff. That's why I don't want to just brush over it, skip over it, because I mean, like, isn't that the main thing? When Prabhupada starts off the purport, that all are all anxious, conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world. So that's one of our main things, isn't it? We have so much desire. You know, I just want to be peaceful. I just wish the world to be peaceful. You know, so I'm not skipping over this point. I'm trying to drum it into my own head and trying to help, others. That this is so fundamental. So we want to try to really get a grip on this. So would anyone else like to say anything? Ambarish Maharaj?
No, I think you're explaining very well. It's a very interesting topic, yeah. And you can talk many things about it, though.
Yeah. Anyone else has any questions about what I said or would like to add something? Okay, that's all good. You're all feeling more peaceful?
It's such a big topic.
It is a big topic. It is a big topic.
It's like when the things goes according to you, then it's not very hard to become a peace. Anyone can be peaceful when the things goes according to you. When the things goes opposite to you, then if you become a peace, that's the test. That's the hardest time to become a peace, you know.
It's interesting you're saying that because it ties in right to the next verse in the beginning of the 6th chapter of becoming detached from the results. That's one of the reasons why we're not peaceful. It's because we're so attached to the results of our activities, our work. And therefore, from the beginning to the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling us, become a sannyasi. Not meaning change your dress and cut your hair off and carry a long stick called a danda, which is the external thing, but become detached from the results of your activities. Don't desire results and don't hate results. So, for example, you can please look we've just passed it in the 5th chapter earlier, the 3rd verse of the 5th chapter. Krishna says that a yogi is one who doesn't desire or hate the results of his activities. Such a person is known to be always renounced. Nitya sannyasi. Nitya means always, sannyasi means renounced. So such a person is always renounced. Who's always renounced? If you don't desire the results of your activities and you don't hate the results of your activities. You know? And then the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text number 2, I think it's text number 2, Krishna says we can look at that. He gives a definition of what sannyas is and what renunciation is. A sannyasi and a renounced person. So who's got it can read it. Whoever gets there first can read what the English to
The
that.
Supreme Personality of the Godhead said that giving up all the activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call that renounced order of life, sannyasa, and giving up the result of all activities what the wise called renunciation, tyaga.
Right from the source, and it's just so perfect. And it's just black and white. It's so clear, and it's completely different than what most people do in the world, that even try to become detached. What is the common process of someone that wants to become detached? What do they normally do?
Run away, they escape.
They run away. What are they running away from? They run away from the activities. Is that what Krishna's saying here? No. He's saying giving up. He doesn't say give up the activities. He said give up the results of the activities. That's what it means to renunciation. You don't renounce the activity. You renounce the results of the activity. And that's completely revolutionary, because every other Tom, Dick, and Harry, if they are, fed up, disgusted with material life or whatever like that, they've tried to enjoy the material world and they've failed miserably 100,000 times after you beat your head on a brick wall 100,000 times. Eventually you get sick of that, and they take the opposite approach. First of all, the soul tries to enjoy the material world, and after failing at that, eventually you become completely exhausted, and then you just try to run away from the material world, and we call that detachment. But it's not what Krishna's saying detachment is. It's not about giving up the activities that may even be producing painful results, but you giving up those painful results. It's nothing to do with me. My duty is to do the activity, whether the results are pleasurable or painful. That's none of my business. I just got to do my job. Whether the result, because that's the two results you can generally get in a basic way, we're saying, right? Either you get a pleasurable result or you get a painful result. Normally, of course, we'd like to continue the activities as long as we get pleasurable results, of course. Normally, that's the way most people live. But as soon as the activities give painful results, what do? See you later. I quit. I'm finished. You walk away or run away, depending how painful it is. But that's not what Krishna's saying is progressive. What's really progressive is you detach from the results. And then it's another interesting thing. He talks about the renounced order of life. So renunciation is you're giving up the results of activities, but the person who is renounced, what do they give up? What are they giving up? So,
Fruit.
What's that?
I was saying the fruits of the actions.
Yeah, the fruits of the actions. But however, there's something else here, and that is saying that in some cases, some activities should be given up. So I've just said it's not about giving up activities, it's about giving up results. However, a person that is in the renounced order of life, there are some activities that are given up. And what kind of activities are those? Those, as Krishna is saying here, if an activity is based on material desire, or kam in Sanskrit, that activity should be given up.
you're talking about like illicit sex, gambling, alcohol, that sort of.
Oh, Bob, I'm just so happy with you today. I am in bliss. It's just going from good
Intoxication.
to better to bliss. You know, you're completely onto it today. And yeah, that's it. You know, like if an activity is just based on sense gratification, or material desire means sense gratification, then, or calm, lust, then, you know, satisfying my own senses, then in that case, those activities should be given up. And of course, we're not all able to do that because we're attached to sense gratification, attached to material desires. But for someone that has become mature in spiritual life, they get to the point where they stop doing those things. Okay, I'm watching TV just for it's not a duty, it's not a service. There's no higher purpose. There's no higher benefit from that. It's just because it pleases me. Okay, I'm gonna sell the TV or throw it away or whatever like that. You know, so some people get to that point where they're so mature that they can stop doing activities that are basically just done for selfish reasons and not for purification. Because actually that's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita that a yogi acts only for the purpose of purification. That's a really nice verse. I'm just trying to remember. You remember that verse?
Sure.
Kayena Manasabudya, 5:12, I think it is. Kayena Manasabudya, Kevalaya Indriyaya Pi. And then third, Yogina Karma Kuravanti Sangam Chatratma Shuddhaye. So I think it's 5:12. Let's just check that one. No, I've missed it. It's somewhere close to there. I know it's not far away. Okay, I missed it by one. Okay, 5:11. So 5:11 says the yogi's abandoning attachment. So this is coming up again, abandoning attachment. Act with body, mind, and intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. So that's what we should be doing. And that's what a sannyasi, an advanced devotee, reaches that point. Now I'm gonna only do activities that are purifying me of contamination, that are for Krishna's pleasure, for devotional service. I'm not going to do anything for my own sense gratification anymore. So at that point, that person becomes a sannyas. Now that could happen at what point in our life?
I would think any time.
Anytime.
Anytime.
When you're a young man or woman, middle-aged man or woman, or an old man or woman, or never. You know, so it just simply depends, like Prabhupada said in one purport, which I really love. You can attain divine life, Krishna consciousness, in a moment or not in millions of lifetimes. It simply depends on accepting the fact. That's profound. That's profound. And I was thinking about, I've been thinking about years, what does it mean? What does Prabhupada mean by accepting the fact? What is the fact that we have to accept that's going to help us, you know, achieve divine life?
Hey, Abhay.
Yep.
Relate this back to the thing that you started the talk with as well, about, you know, the feeling of competition with other people if they appear to be, you know, progressing well on the spiritual path compared to you.
Yeah.
And also what you were just talking about doing things that are pointed in the direction of purification.
Yeah.
Both of those things. I mean, the fact of the experience of doing things that are oriented towards purification, and the fact of the experience of being around people who are progressing very, very rapidly on the spiritual path.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? It's a direct sensation of joy, upliftment, and your own purification.
Yes, yes. And that all those experiences and feelings of purification and how we see others, and that as a consequence or result of seeing ourselves for who we really are, and the fact that, which is that we're just a tiny servant. We're a tiny spark, a spiritual spark, a tiny spiritual spark of the gigantic fire of the Supreme, and accepting that fact, and being, and not only accepting the fact, but accepting the fact. What does that include? To accept the fact that we're happy with that. We have no problem with that. And that's when that, like what Josh is bringing me back to, where the envy goes. There's no more competition anymore. There's no exploitation anymore. Because I'm not trying to be the boss anymore. I'm not trying to be the controller, the enjoyer anymore. I'm happy just doing a little bit of service, doing my job, doing my duty. Why is the spiritual person so happy just to do their duty and they're not worried about the result? Because they've realized, they've accepted the fact. I'm a servant. The Supreme Being has given me a job to do, and that's my bliss. That is my bliss. That he's giving me service. That is the bliss. That he's given me some service to do for him, and that's so ecstatic. And doing that, the advanced devotee's hairs are standing on end. Tears are coming out of his eyes sideways, just from doing some service for the Supreme. He doesn't give a stuff about the outcome. Doesn't mean anything to him. It's like just bits of broken glass. The real jewel is the service. That is the jewel, that we have been given, some service or a duty to do for the pleasure of the Supreme. So it's all tying together. It's all tying together. Being realizing what our real position is, and being fearless, and being renounced, and being a yogi, and all these things was all part of a package deal. And the whole thing together, how are you going to explain that whole thing together? We call it Krishna consciousness, or divine life, and it's usually a gradual process. But like Prabhupada said, it could happen in a moment too, if you're really sincere and really serious, and you just accept the fact that I'm, so happy to be a tiny servant and doing a little bit of service. Then you can make rapid progress. And if we're struggling with that, no, I think I'm still the controller, I'm still the enjoyer, and like that, then it could take lifetime or many lifetimes. So that what does that mean? That means we have a lot of, what do we have a lot of? The fact that we could attain divine life in a moment or millions of lifetimes. What does that mean we have a lot of?
Do you mean knowledge?
Freedom, free will.
Freedom, free will. We've got a lot of that. We got a lot of that, because if you use that free will in one way, you're home and hosed, mate. In one moment. And by the way, a moment in Sanskrit is called lava matra. And a lava matra is 1/11th of a second. That's a moment, 11th. It's basically an eye blink. Apparently their eye blinks for about 1/11th of a second. So that's called a moment, a lava matra. So you could attain self-realization in a 11th of a second, or you could be coming back for a few million lifetimes, bro. So that depends on us. It's not, because the Supreme wants us all to go back right away. But why don't we go back right away? It's not because of him that it's becoming slow or anything, or slow or fast. It's because of us. So that means we have a heavy responsibility, isn't it? Having freedom, along with having free choice, comes responsibility. Do you know why the non-human species, they don't get any karma? There's no reactions. Non-human, anything, you name it, other than human, whether it's an animal's body, bird body, fish body, plant body, they don't get any reaction to any of their activities they do. If a tiger comes along and bites your neighbor's head off, there's no karmic reaction for that.
They're behaving mechanically. They don't have the ultimate free will of consciousness.
Yeah, that's right. they're forced to act in a particular way, call it instinct or whatever. You know, they're actually dictated to by the Lord in the heart, by Paramatma in their heart, to do that. You know, so there's no free choice, but we don't. That's not the same for us. We have a lot of choice. You know, we have a lot of choice. Therefore, there's a lot of responsibility, and therefore we get karma. You get a reaction, whether it's good or bad. You make the right choice, you get a good reaction. You make the wrong choice, you get a bad reaction. You know, so it's a double-edged. What do they call it? Double-edged blade.
Double-edged sword. Yeah.
Double-edged sword. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So that's why we're reading the Bhagavad Gita, because we want as much knowledge as we can to make the best choice possible. Isn't it? Human life is not long life, you know, but especially if there's coronavirus around, may not be a very long life, but it can be a great achievement we can make if we use our free choice properly. So we want as much knowledge as we can to make the best possible choice with the limited time that we have. Therefore, in the Bhagavatam, it says that human life, although it's adruvam means temporary, but it's artadam. Artadam means very valuable. It's very valuable, even though it's adruvam, temporary, but it's very valuable. Because with this one short life, with a higher consciousness, with free choice, if we use it properly, then we can get out of here in one life. You know, so it's very amazing. Okay, so with our valuable life, let's get into the 6th chapter. And we're very happy to have a practitioner of the 6th chapter here, Josh, which is this chapter is about Astanga Yoga. Jnana means meditation. So, and the person doing meditation and this 8-fold system of yoga. So we at any time, but especially at this time, we're very happy if you all and Josh want to make any comments. And a lot of these technical things as we go through this chapter won't be all in the first verse, but as we go through the chapter, there'll be some technical points about Astanga Yoga that Josh will know a lot more about than I do. I just have some theoretical knowledge about some parts of the Astanga Yoga, although many of it is so closely aligned that one of these verses you could read it and say, oh, that's what I'm doing, Astanga Yoga. And the same verse, if a Bhakti Yogi reads, will say, oh, that's what I'm doing, Bhakti Yoga, because there's not really much difference. Can be some external superficial things, but in essence, it's the same. It's bringing us to the same point. A union, connection with the Supreme, with the Divine. And there may be some superficial differences, but not so many. Okay, so let's read the Sanskrit of the first verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Ucha.
Anashrita karma phalam.
Anashrita karma phalam.
Karyam karma karotiya.
Karyam karma karotiya.
Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha.
Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha.
Na niragnir na chakriya.
Na niragnya chakriya.
So would anyone else like to have a go at leading? Practice makes perfect. Okay. All right. Okay. Sarah, would you like to read that translation, please?
Thank you. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is a true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty.
So this is the same point we were mentioning, emphasized again. This is renunciation or sannyas, who is not attached to the fruits or the results of his work. And he does his work, does his duty. He does his duty as he's obligated, because that's what duty means, right? It's an obligation. Like, what's an example of someone that's doing a duty? Any examples?
As a police officer, he's doing his duty.
Yeah. So that's his he's obliged to do that. He can't say, oh, I don't feel like doing it anymore, I'm not going to do it. What's going to happen? All the crims are going to say, party time, let's rip off, you know, everyone's house and shop and smash it all. It'd be chaos. It'd be anarchy if the police said, oh, I don't feel like doing this anymore. It's too much hard work. You know, so they're doing their duty. You know, it's an obligation. You have to, something you have to do. Even the policeman doesn't feel like doing it. He has to do it. You know, that's his job. He must do it. What's any other examples? Someone that's doing a duty.
Nurse.
A nurse, yeah, very important, especially now in coronavirus, right? Imagine the nurses says, and they must be thinking like that. They must be thinking, this job sucks. It really sucks. I mean, I'm seeing like 500 people every day and like 300 of them are dying, you know, and the rest are like, you know, buggered. And it's like just a hell of a job, you know, especially if you're an Indian nurse right now. It's just every hospital is just like overflowing. And as fast as they go in, as fast as they go out, and they're being burnt outside the door. So when you're going home, when you're leaving, if you get to go home, that is, they might even sleep there. If they get to go home, they have to walk past all these burning bodies. So it's one hell of a job. But can you imagine if they didn't turn up? It'd be just even more crazy. It's already crazy, but it'd be even more crazy, you know. So they're doing a great service. Every job is very important. Can you think of, name one job in society that's not important?
No.
It's all important. If you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, if you're a teacher, if you're an engineer, if you're a yoga teacher, if you're, I mean, look, if there wasn't any yoga teachers, what would happen, Josh? We'd all be as stiff as a brick, you know, we wouldn't be able to move. We'd just be so tight and everything. And also because of that, we'd be mentally just so stressed out and everything. And, you know, it'd just be crazy. You know, if there was no cooks, if there was no restaurants, you know, you say what? There's
a forgotten area is garbage man.
Even the garbage man, God, I mean,
Imagine
the whole
lot without them.
Yeah, you know, imagine, you know, you walk out the door, you can't even walk out the door. It's just full up with garbage. You can't even get out the door, you know, if that wasn't done, you know. So every job is important, and we should all think, it's my duty. I have to do it. I'm obliged to do this. It's important work. And even though there might be, you know, and every job has bad elements to it, like the garbage man, right? It's pretty stinky, you know, all that work and everything like that. And even for me, like my main job now is a gardener. And let me tell you, don't think, oh, Abhay's been doing gardening work. Oh, he's so lucky. Oh, my God, that's the best job, gardening. Do you know how many living entities I kill every day, their bodies?
Oh.
Basically, from morning to night, I'm just killing. That's all I do. You know, if I dig the soil, how many worms I kill, how many bugs like that. I have to pull out all the weeds. They're living entities. I'm killing the bodies of all the plants, all the weeds, I kill them. You know, if some possums and that, you know, too destructive, whatever, like that, I have to set some traps. I have to kill them. You know, so I could easily think this job sucks. You know, I'm trying to be a devotee, you know, and I'm just killing day and night. You know, I want to go back to I think I'm going back to the bhakti tree. I'm just going to sit in the bhakti tree in New Gokula, and it's going to be a lot more peaceful life. And I don't have to kill anything, you know, but I could think like that. But it doesn't matter what kind of job, there's going to be some kind of problems that go along with it. And that's one of my favorite verses in the Bhagavad Gita, which is in the 18th chapter. Next number, it's in the 40s, late 40s. Yeah, here it is. 47 and 48. And this 48 especially gives me some relief when I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a horrible job and I wish I could do something else. 48, I recite that verse when I'm annihilating things, you know, and I'm reciting that verse. So do you want to, who wants to read that? 47 and then 48. 18th chapter,
47, 48.
It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another occupation and perform it perfectly. Duty prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reaction.
You hear that?
Yes,
Duties prescribed according to one's nature.
Mm.
What nature? Means we have a conditioned nature, right? The body, particular body mind you have is in a particular nature, whether it's ignorance or passion, or ignorance and compassion together, or goodness, like that. So we have a particular nature. But if you work according to nature, not affected by sinful reactions. So that means, you know, oh, well, I'm killing all the worms and everything like that and so many things, but not going to get affected by sinful reactions if I do my duty. Okay, next verse.
48.
Yeah. Someone else like to read that?
Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault.
You hear that right from the horse's mouth? Every endeavor, not some endeavors, every endeavor is covered by some fault. The example is, like fire is very nice, isn't it? But do you know fire has a fault? Do you know what the fault of fire is? It has something that's not very nice that it produces. Smoke. Smoke's just sucks. You know, smoke's not good for anything. But the fire's good. But you can't have fire without smoke. Did you know that? Because we have a wood fire here at home. I know that because I light it every day. And every day I light the fire, which is very useful, but I get so much smoke. And I had to clean the glass of the fireplace because there's all smoke all over it, soot. You know, so
It's you have to look at the positive point there, because it's a mosquito repellent, like mosquito won't come.
yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what you look at. You can look at any job. You know, even, okay, so, but what about a Brahmana's job? Brahmana's job, that's pretty clean. I mean, there's not really, can't see any faults with that. But look at the traditional Vedic Brahmana. Oh my God. When he does a sacrifice, he has to kill the animal in the sacrifice. I mean, sure enough, I mean, the traditional sacrifices, yeah, we admit, the animals would be brought back to life by the power of the mantras and everything, the purity of the Brahmana, but it's still not very good. They're still chopping the head off the animal. You know, it's still not him personally, but I mean, he's...
What about that a person
he's
to
organising
give it a duty that to hang to death?
Well, that's the Kshatriya, that's the king, that's a fault with him.
Like,
He's
you know,
got
you hanging someone. He just like...
Yeah,
Oh my
so
God.
that's a, you know, something not good. And why is Krishna saying this? Because Arjuna's got that job. He's got to kill people. And
Yeah.
in this case, Arjuna's really freaking out. He doesn't have a problem with killing people. He's killed. You can't keep track of how many people Arjuna's killed. He's an amazing warrior.
The killing machine.
He's a killing machine, basically. But this particular time, he has a problem with it. Why does he have a problem? Because here his blimmin' relatives are on the other side.
His relatives, his guru. Yeah.
His guru, his relatives, and you know, this is his duty to kill them. And Arjuna is saying, this sucks. This is a big fault. I don't want to do this anymore. Stuff this job. You know, I'm going to become a sannyasi. And Krishna's just shooting him down. You're an idiot. You know, this is your duty. You have to do this.
It's like if Krishna tells us you have to kill Prabhupada. It's a guru. How can you do that? It's just... But
well,
Krishna,
yeah, I mean, Krishna would never do that.
No,
but,
never. But it was like his guru, Dronacharya.
But I know what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, there's that radical one in Bhagavatam, right? Where Parashuram, he's an incarnation of the Lord. His father ordered him to kill his mother because his mother she was sent out to get some water or something like that. And in the process, she saw this really handsome king of the Gandharvas or something, some heavenly, you know, gorgeous looking guy. And she got a little bit smitten with him, just looking at him. And she just stood there for ages, like gobsmacked at, wow, he's so handsome. She didn't do anything bad, but it slowed her down, you know, and she came back late.
and her husband is like a mystic yogi, and he knew that she had like commit this like adultery in her mind. So his son Parashuram was there in the room. He said, "Kill your mum."
Oh my God.
Well, no, actually, I'm wrong. First of all, he said to his brothers, isn't it? He said to his brothers, he said to his other brothers, kill your mother, and they refused. And then he turns to the last son, Parashuram. He says, I think he was maybe the youngest, and then he said, "Kill your mum," and he did. Because that was the culture, you have to do your duty, and what the duty of the son is to be obedient to the father. And then that seems pretty crazy, but I just follow along. And then so he did it, and then his father was so pleased with his son. You are so obedient, because he knew this is really hard for him to do that. He had to kill his mother, but he did it because I told him. So he did it. And I don't take this as something we can apply now. This is completely different time, place, circumstances. But I'm just making a particular point about sometimes one may be faced with a difficult situation where one might have to do something he really doesn't want to do. Like this example is like Arjuna was faced with that. He'd have to kill Dronacharya, his guru. And I'm making the point that this previous situation where Parashuram had to kill his mother. So he killed his mother, and then his father was so pleased, and he said, "My dear son, I'm so happy with what you did. I want to give you a blessing now. Anything you want, you name it, I'll give you a blessing." Do you know what blessing he asked?
Want his mum back?
He said, "Dad, bring my mum back." He said, "I'm so pleased with you, my son, because you're so obedient." "Okay, so be it." And his mother came back to life. So yeah, don't take that you can do things like that now unless you can bring your mum back to life. So this is a completely different scenario, but just making that point that, of course, that seems very extreme, but we can take the relevance of that in our daily life, because we all have to do like things that we don't like to do. Like I don't like killing worms. Worms are so good for the garden, but when I'm doing gardening work, I'm killing the worms. Or I have to, kill some plants or whatever, or kill some animals or whatever like that, that are wrecking the trees or whatever that I'm planting, or things like that. Of course, you try to minimize it as much as possible. Like I don't plow the land with a rotary hoe because I know it'd kill, untold thousands and thousands of worms. I just do the minimal digging I have to do with a spade. So, and I don't go out and lay poison everywhere to kill every single possum within 10 kilometers radius of the farm. I just kill the ones that come onto the property that are attacking the trees on the property, so I set a trap for them. So, you try to minimize, obviously, these things as much as possible, but you can't avoid it completely. That's the point. You can't have a job that's never going to have any problems in the job. Does everyone agree with that, or everyone disagrees?
120%.
Yeah, there's always something. There's always going to be something that's not good. But because there's something that's not good, doesn't mean you give up the job. And that's the important point here, that everyone should continue doing their work, and don't worry about the result, whether sometimes it's going to be a rotten result. Sometimes you're a nurse, right? Maybe the patient will die. Okay, that was a bad result. But another time you save the person's life, isn't it? That save the person's life. Another time the person dies. So what are you going to do? Are you going to give up when the person dies? No, but the next time you'll probably save the next guy's life again. But don't worry about the result. You just keep trying your best, and the result's not up to you, and you leave that up to the Lord.
Well, there's a few sorry.
Yeah.
I was just going to say there's a few jobs coming up in the royal family.
Okay. They're pulling out or dying, pulling out. Yeah.
As glamorous as it is.
Yeah. And then there's a very famous verse. Where's that one? 247. 247. 247. This is another famous verse. And many Hindus quote the first line of this verse, but they don't know any of the other lines. The first one's important to them because it says you have a right to work. So they like that. I have a right to do my job. But they never seem to quote to me any of the other lines, which are equally as if not more important. So what does it say? Who wants to say this? 247?
Yeah, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty. You want me to do in English? Karmani vadike
English.
paleshu kadachana. Okay.
Yeah.
You might have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruit of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Isn't it? Everyone's thinking, oh, yes, that's fantastic, Krishna. Krishna's saying I have a right to do my work. And but what about the dollars? But that's the thing. Krishna's saying you're not entitled to the dollars, and we don't like that one, so we don't think about that part. We just think about the first part. Yeah, I can do work my butt off. I can work my butt off, do my work, and then enjoy the results, But Krishna's not saying that. Krishna's saying, because remember, this ties in with the last verse of the 5th chapter, that the enjoyer of all our activities is who? Is it me?
No, it's Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna says there, Bhaktaram Yagna Tapasam, that Krishna is the enjoyer of all your activities. This is the enjoyer of activities, but materialistic person doesn't like to hear that. But this is what makes it work. This is what makes it work. That you do your job, you do your activities, but don't be attached to the results and think that you're enjoyer of the results. And don't think that the other point is very important. Don't think that you cause the results, because that can stuff us up too. Imagine you do your job, you get a bad result, and then you get bummed out. Why? Because you think it's my fault. It's my fault. Oh, the person died because of me. It's my fault. No, it's not.
Now, if you're in the wrong job, then you may feel like it's because you are the cause of it. Like, if somebody asks me, Gulshan, can you become a police officer? I'm a joker. Yeah. And I might make a few nuisance things, then I feel like, oh, it's my fault. Because I wasn't designed for the police officer, and then they put me on the front line.
Yeah.
So if you're not according to your nature, then you feel like it's your fault.
Yeah. And you can't do it the other way around. If the results work out very good, what do? I did it. It's because of me. Look, guys, it's me. I'm doing it. I'm the one that's a good speaker and everything like this. It's me. I did that once, and I did that, and I got completely smashed by Krishna.
Did you? Yeah, I did it. I can't believe that.
Yeah, I did it. I was asked to speak in a temple, and after the class, people came up to me and said, wow, that was a far out class. And my head must have swollen up to about the size of a pumpkin, and a big ego and everything like that. And then I was asked by a friend, can you give a talk at my house? I'm having a program at my house tonight. Give a talk at my house tonight. And I sung a song, Jaya Radha Madhava, and then it was time for me to speak, which I'd done many times before. And you know what happened when it came to my time to speak?
Couldn't remember.
No, you couldn't. You've lost your voice.
Bob. You're out of control. Your fire is out of control tonight. I couldn't think of anything. I was like, the head that's on top of the shoulders, right? It was empty. It was completely void. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. It was just nothing there. Really? And you know why? What happened? You know what happened? You know what I analyzed it later? What happened?
It was just you had pumped up with the false ego, and then the God make you to realize, Krishna, it's me.
It's not your knowledge, mate.
It's not you. It's me.
It's not your intelligence. It's mine. Yes. I've been giving it to, but now you're puffed up with it, so I'm taking it away. And he says that this is the most quoted verse that Prabhupada quoted, the most quoted verse, 15th chapter, 15th verse. It's easy to remember, 15:15. 15:15.
Yeah. From Sridhar on everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and the forgetfulness.
Whatness? That's what happened to me, forgetfulness. So he's the source of forgetfulness also. He's the source of knowledge, and he's the source of forgetfulness also. Yeah. Mata smritir. Smritir means remembrance, comes from him. Oh, I remember where I put my keys. Do you know, what happened there? Krishna gave you that memory because you couldn't remember before. Have you ever had that experience before? Where did I put my blimmin' keys? You can't remember. So who took away that memory? That was Krishna in your heart. And then it suddenly comes back, doesn't it, at some point? Now I remember I left it on the shelf over there. And who gave you that memory? That was Krishna. So who took it away? Krishna. Who gave it to you? Krishna. So it's all come. He's the source of everything, right? Aham Savasya Prabhavo. He's the source of everything. So that was a very good lesson for me. That was actually more valuable than the class in the morning, which was a very good class. The most valuable class I've given in my life was that class that night where I said nothing. Because that was the night.
Mute class.
Chris, that was the nuke class. That was my nuke, the Abhay Charan nuke class. Let me take out his...
How long ago was that? How long ago?
So you know how big I felt after that? About, I can't really show you how big I felt. Like this, I was under the carpet. But that's our real size, that we're very insignificant and that we're very dependent. We're not independent. See, there's only one person that's independent. Who's the only person that's independent?
Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna the Supreme. And that in Sanskrit is called Swarat. So that's the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Very first verse, starting with the very first verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya Yatonvayada Tartas Chatesa Bigna Swarat. That he's the independent one. Everyone else is dependent. We're dependent on him for, like we said, butter and food and air and water and
everything.
Like that, so many things. So like now, isn't it? People are suffering around the world. They don't have air. They don't have the air. They can't, even if the air is there, but they can't get it in their body. It's amazing. Think about it. It's really weird, isn't it? Even the air is sitting in I've seen the big steel bottle of air. But you're dependent on Krishna to be able to get that air in your lungs. Even if and some of these people have a lot of money and they've bought the bottle of air. But without Krishna, you can't get that bottle of air inside your lungs to stay alive. And of course, without air, you can't live. So we're dependent. Anyone that says they're independent from the Supreme or there's no God or anything is a mudha. That's not a very nice word.
Knowledge, yeah.
But it means a rascal. It means a foolish rascal. So we're so dependent, isn't it? And hopefully that's something we should get out of coronavirus, is that we're not independent from the Supreme. We're very helpless. We're very helpless. Even because before we used to think we weren't helpless because of what? Well, what is something that's caused us to think we don't need God anymore? Because it used to be people were very God-fearing and religious and so forth. In modern day society, a lot of people don't believe in God anymore. So what are some of the causes why we don't really think we need God anymore?
Financial independence.
Oh, I have money now. Money is God. Money is God. If I have money, that's everything. I can get everything with money. I don't need God. I've got money. Okay, mate, you got money and you bought the air, but you can't get it in your blooming lungs unless the man in your heart, lets it go through. So then what are you going to do? And you can't do anything, of course, and then you're dead. So that's the thing, so it doesn't matter who we are, what society we're in. I'm in a first world country. We don't need God here. Maybe the third world countries need God, but we're very highly advanced with technology and science. We have the latest mobile phone here, the latest satellites. We're the latest bridges, the latest skyscrapers.
You still need a 2-meter box to get in. That's it, no matter what.
But yeah, we're still fallible. Then the Bhagavatam calls us fallible soldiers. Atma Sainesh for Sats for P. That we're fallible soldiers. What is fallible? Everyone knows what the word fallible means. It's an old word that we don't use very much, but it's an English word. Fallible. It means we can fall down anytime. We fall down into that box, or you fall down into a fire, or you fall down and be eaten by vultures and worms and dog food. You know, so but one way or another, mate, it doesn't matter what kind of soldier you are. You might be Rambo, you might be Arnold Schwarzenegger, you might be Spider-Man, Superman, you might be all in one, but you're still going to fall down, you know, ultimately without his mercy. So that's something we all have to realize. Don't get proud. Don't get proud of whatever modern advancements or whatever like that. Actually, these modern advancements in technology and so forth, often they lead to just the falling down happening sooner than later. Like, for example, now if one nutcase on the other side of the world pushes one red button on his desk, you know what happens to your life and everyone else's? You know, it's all gone. You know. So, and that's an advancement of technology.
But the Krishna in him as well. So he wouldn't do that. If the Krishna wants him to do it, he'll do it.
Yes and no. Yes, yeah, the sanction is required from him, but sometimes Krishna sanctions things that he doesn't want. Otherwise, why would there be so many slaughterhouses where cows are being killed every minute? Does Krishna want cows to be killed? No, so then the question is, okay, his sanctions required. So why is he sanctioning? Comes back to something Josh said.
Free will.
Free will.
He's given you free will. Okay. It's your choice. Do you want to kill the cows? Okay, kill the cows.
At the end, I'll balance that.
You kill the cows, okay, but mate, you're going to be toast in your next life. You're going to be toast, you know, not only your next life, but it said in the Manu Samhita, as many hairs as there are on the body of the cow, you have to take birth in the body of a cow and be killed. So you're toast, mate. Okay, you have free choice, but you misuse it. Like I said, heavy responsibility. You are toast. You know, so that's what I mean. You know, it's a heavy responsibility. So free choice is there. Free choice is there. So yeah, sannyas. So renunciation. So we got to do our duty, even though it's sometimes the results are not good. Don't give up. You know, do your duty. Of course, you should give up like things that are not good for your Krishna consciousness, your spiritual practice. And Bob mentioned that, like meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. Those things, you know, if you're sane, you're going to give those things up because they're just completely useless activities. But I'm not talking about, when I'm saying a job, I'm not talking about that. That's not a job. That's just rascal existence. A job means something in necessary activities and to help maintain society. It means like you need doctors and engineers and teachers and things like that. These things are necessary for the running of society. So those things shouldn't be given up. You should do them. Don't worry about sometimes the outcome is not going to be good. Sometimes it'll be good. Don't let it go to your head like it did to me. And, you know, sometimes it won't be good, and don't become depressed and despondent and things like that. You know, we're just an instrument. So that verse we were saying, 247, you know, you have a right to do your work. Don't be attached to the results. Don't think that you cause the results. And then what does it say? Don't be attached to not doing your duty. And that's what Arjuna was heading towards. He was becoming attached to, I'm not going to fight. And that's what he said right in the first chapter, right? Krishna, I shall not fight. So that's what Krishna's saying in 247. Don't be attached to not working. Right. It's what you shouldn't be attached to is the results. Like in this case, that this time I have to kill some relatives or whatever like that. So don't be attached to that. But you know, not that you're not attached to doing the work. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
You can attach to your working as long as you don't worry about the results.
No, he says you have a right to work. He doesn't say to become attached to your work. Because what if Krishna says another day, hey, Gulshan, I don't want you to work in the bhakti tree anymore. I want you to work somewhere else. So, you know, and then what are you going to say? No, I'm attached to the bhakti tree work.
No. But until on the planet, on the bhakti tree, whenever I go with a big smile on my face, no matter what. I
Yeah,
love
but I
that.
mean, what if there's a bomb
One day
falls
if the
on the
Bhakti
Bhakti
tree
tree and the
shut
Bhakti tree
down,
doesn't exist
I'll
anymore,
find
so but you're still going to do some work, but at least some other kind of work.
Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah,
course,
so
yeah. Whatever I
so
do, I go with a smile.
so that's also, you're not that you not going to be attached to the work, but you're going to do your work, and you're not going to be thinking about giving up your work. But if your work gets taken away from you, or you're progressing to another kind of work, which, say for example, the guru says, okay, enough of that kind of work, Gulshan, I want you to do this kind of work. I want you to paint houses or something, just a ridiculous example, but whatever. Then you shouldn't say, no, I'm not going to leave this work. I'm attached to this work. No.
Whatever, even our painting houses that I'll be happily painting. Anything I'll do with the joy, no matter what. I'll
Yeah.
find the happiness in the work. I'm
Yeah.
not working for happy. I'll find happiness in the work.
Yeah. So whatever work you're doing, you should see this work is given to me by the Supreme. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, whether that's a fitness instructor like Bob, or a what do you call yourself, Sarah? A psychologist?
Yeah.
Yeah, or a yoga instructor like Josh, or a master chef like Bhakti Mala, making muffins and wonderful things, and cookies and so
Pastry
forth.
maker.
What's
Pastry
that?
maker.
Pastry
Bhakti is
maker,
a pastry
master
maker.
pastry maker. So you just do it to the best of your ability, and think that you should think this particular work is given to me by the Supreme, and you should be in bliss. Like I said, you should be in ecstasy that you've been given some responsible task to do for the pleasure of the Supreme and not for your own pleasure. That's the difference in the mentality. That everyone, a materialist, is thinking that this is my work, and I enjoy the results and everything like that, and I'm going to do it if it makes me feel good. I'm not going to do it if it doesn't make me feel good. But the spiritual minded person thinks it does the same work, but in a completely different consciousness. That I'm working as a service to the Supreme, is giving me this particular responsibility, and I take it very seriously. I do it to the best of my ability. Whatever results come is he caused it, and it's for his benefit, his pleasure. If it doesn't work out good, also, that's his problem, right? You get it? He gave me this work. I'm doing it he's giving me all the ability and the strength and the intelligence to do the work. If it doesn't work out, that's his problem. You get it? Not my problem. I'll just finish off with one wonderful story from the Mahabharata, which is coming around the Bhagavad Gita area. Then one day, Grandfather Bhishma, who was like the most powerful warrior on the battlefield, he was on the other side to the Pandavas, fighting the Pandavas. He was the chief of the Kaurava army, Bhishma. He was like an incarnation of some demigod, and he had benedictions, you can't kill him, and so forth. And he had every single mystical weapon that existed and everything like that. And he was killing all the Pandava army like anything. And Duryodhan, who was the chief, he was the general. Duryodhan criticized Bhishma. Grandfather, you're not trying. You're not trying to do your work properly, because if you were working to your full potential, the Pandavas would already be dead. But you haven't killed any of them because you like them. He said they're your favorites. You love the Pandavas more than us. That's why you're not trying hard. So that really upset Bhishma. So Bhishma said, okay, tomorrow I'm going to kill all the Pandavas, or at least I'm going to kill Arjuna. And unless I'm going to kill Arjuna, unless Krishna interferes and picks up a weapon and Krishna fights. Unless Krishna fights, I promise I'm going to kill Arjuna tomorrow. And he empowered 5 arrows with mystical power. 5 arrows with this mystical power. And so much, all of his power he put in these 5 arrows, and 1 arrow was for each of the Pandavas. He was going to kill Yudhisthira with one. He was going to kill Bhima with one, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva with one tomorrow. And that news of that spread out through both sides of the army. And everyone on the Kaurava side was Haribol, was really excited. And on the Pandava side, oh my God, this is like disaster. The Pandavas are finished. That nothing can get in the way of Bhishma like that. And he's made a vow like that, because Bhishma was famous because he made a vow that he would never get married. which is a big thing because he was the next in line to become the king. So he made a vow. So everyone knew Bhishma, he never breaks his vow. He never ever breaks his vow. And so after that happened, that night, Arjuna, he was sleeping like a baby. That means like deep sleep. And Krishna was sitting next to him, and Krishna couldn't sleep. Krishna was in so much anxiety because Krishna, he loved Arjuna so much, was his dear friend. And Krishna woke Arjuna up, said, Arjuna, how can you sleep? The guy he never breaks his vow. He's vowed to kill you tomorrow. And Arjuna said, as long as you are concerned about me and worried about me, my Lord, I
don't need to be worried.
I don't need to be worried because I've got
Yeah.
God. He's worried about me. So I don't need to worry about anything because he knew that he was under the protection of the Supreme and he had nothing to worry about. So you can see this is the peace formula. This is the peace formula. Here's this invincible warrior said he's going to kill him tomorrow. He's not worried because he knows there's someone more higher than them, the Supreme Being, is watching over him and loves him. So he had nothing to worry about. And the next day, do you know what happened?
Yeah,
he made a vow. He's going to kill Arjuna unless Krishna fights. And Krishna had vowed not to fight. So you know what happened the next day?
He break his vow, but he cannot break that vow of Bhishma. Because
Krishna broke his vow to save his devotee. He picked up a broken chariot wheel that was lying on the ground and lifted it and was going to chuck it at Bhishma Dev. So he's using it as a weapon. So he broke his vow.
And soon he picked up and Bhishma dropped his. So he said, "Well, that's my vow and I'm winning."
Yeah. So Krishna was so cool that he saved his devotee, and also Bhishma was also a devotee of Krishna, and Krishna also saved his devotee Bhishma's vow. So he kept the vow of Bhishma and also kept his promise, which is in the 9th chapter, text 26, I think it is. Yeah. Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma Sasvat Shantam Nagachati Kuntaya Pradijanahi Name Bhakta Pranashati. Declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish. I think it's 926 or something like that.
926 is
925, 920 something. 9. Let's just finish with this. Sorry for being over time. 9 something. No, it's before 920. Hang on. Hmm.
22.
Okay, 922. No, not 922. Declare it boldly. Okay, here it is. Yeah, 31. 931. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So this is Krishna, that his purpose is to always protect those that are surrendered to him.
And he didn't say that. He said Arjuna to declare it.
Yeah, he asked Arjuna to declare it because everyone knows that Krishna breaks his promises.
Yeah, that's right.
But Krishna breaks his promises. Why?
Never breaks that his devotee.
He puts his devotee ahead of himself. And what do you call that? What do you call it when you put someone else ahead of yourself?
Love.
Bob, you're too much. You're too much. You're just right on target every time.
Don't get excited, Bob. You might lose everything.
Love. That's love. That's love. Krishna, that's the purport of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna loves his devotees and the devotees love Krishna. It's a book of love. It's a book about divine love. This is the real love. Krishna will sacrifice his own self to please his devotees, and his devotees would sacrifice themselves to please Krishna. Arjuna, he sacrificed everything to please Krishna. Do you think Arjuna didn't love his relatives? Do you think Arjuna didn't love his guru and so forth, his grandfather? He had to kill them all. But his love for Krishna is just the supreme. And Krishna's love for his devotee is supreme. You know, so it's really far out. It's really far out. It's really far out. Okay. Sorry to go over time. Does anyone want to say anything?
Now Sarah's cat look very nice.
What was that?
Your cat at the back looks very nice.
Oh, this is Krista. This is Krista.
Hare Krishna, Krista.
Hare Krishna, Krista.
Ambarish Maharaj, you like to say anything?
Krishna's cat, but Krishna helped me save her from being run over.
Okay.
She came to be with me.
And
Anyway.
when you come to New Zealand, to Australia, bring Amrish Maharaj with you, Prabhuji.
See you next week.
We'll put in a request.
I'm very pleased to meet you all. Thank you very much for
Thank you very much. Hope to see you in person one day.
So yeah, next time, Krishna willing, we'll go through the purport and go
Okay.
into that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very important subjects. So yeah, we want to try
Thank
to
you.
dive deep.
Okay.
We've always
Prabhuji,
been-
yeah, can you send this that recording to me, because I was mentioned that a guy Rob, he couldn't able to because he got to pick up his kids from the school this time.
Yeah.
I mean, he said Thursday I'm gonna pick up the kids, and there's a Thursday 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I said, well, keep reading the Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah.
and then just pay to your respect